Well, what's the crack, everybody? How are you getting on? Well, episode 191. Just we're closing in on the 200, lads. It's for Friday the 8th. No, what the fuck is wrong with me? It's not. My computer is kind of American at the minute. I don't know what I'm after downloading, so it's all arseways. It's, of course, the 2nd of July 2021. Well, you'll have noticed that the microphone's a bit on the cleaner side. I'm using my kind of studio mic at the minute. It's kind of a bit big and clunky, but it's fine for doing voiceover work and whatnot. But I wasn't a complete fucking idiot. I had the other microphone, the brand new microphone, set up correctly. Turns out, it was fucking broken. Yeah, I got in contact with them. I did everything they said. I said, this is simplistic enough. I'm not that much of a fucking donkey. Turns out, 'tis fucked. Must have fallen or something. Tisn't my fault. We're getting a new one on the way, so it should be on here. God knows when. But look, I'll continue to use this one anyway, because the other one, Jesus, fucking rough. I don't know what, it was gone all echoey and everything. And I gave the other one away to somebody. I was like, here, fucking, I've got a brand new, spanky new one. You can have the other one. Of course I did. Not realising that the other one is a ball of shit. Welcome, anybody new to the podcast. Look at, there's a rake more of them there. Have a gander, 190 other episodes. If you follow me on Instagram, you can have a look at the pictures. The absolute smorgasbord of guests. It's probably the best way to do it, because a lot of the old platforms only show you 10 at a time. Go follow the Buckshot. Go follow Buckshot on Instagram. It's probably the handiest way to find out who has been on. You go, dipping back in. People have been getting in contact, dipping back in ones that they liked before, and they're listening. They're going, I listened to that one, and then I went back to 122, or whatever. There you go. So the crack. There's rakes in there. We're closing in on 200. I've secured my guest for 200. I just need to sort out a venue. I'm nearly finished the studio. Just the soundproofing out. I'm gonna just everything. Everything's pretty much done. Soundproofing and carpet. That's it. So we'll be moving in there next couple of days. Because I kept on making modifications to it. I had electricians back, and they put a couple more bits in it for me, because I said, I haven't got to get this here right. And it's going to be beautiful and perfect, because you won't do it. You won't do I could move in right now, but you fucking won't. You won't do the bits that you wanted to do if you start the ball rolling. Do you know what I mean? We've all been to those houses where there's no fucking skirting board, and they're in their 10 years. Fuck it, we don't need skirting board. I can't have that. I can't fucking have that. It's got to be perfect, or it won't. Not because I'm psycho about it, but I know it just won't get done if it's working and doing fine. So hence why. Welcome, any new Patreons. Fucking mighty delighted to have you on board. You know the benefits of Patreon. I released a bunch of the older videos the other day, just to give whet the appetite of people out there that may or may not know about the podcast. But I mean, they're months old, most of those ones. Typically you get the video only goes to the Patreon, until everybody's watched it a good few, for a couple of months. But the Ramble Pods have all moved over there. You can listen to the old ones from 123 backwards, but the last couple, they've all purely been for Patreons only. And we do have live shows and stuff as well, so that's the benefit of it. There will be a code as well. They're giving me a code for the merch that'll be exclusive only to Patreons. And as well as that, I'll be posting, if I'm to get a code for some of the UCH tickets as well. It's going to be University Concert Hall in Limerick. Fuck it, we are going to have some gigs and whatnot. I was kind of, on the Patreon page, I release a bit more, because it's a bit loosey-goosey, you know what I mean? We're not talking to the general public. So if you do want to get properly involved, $3, have a look at the fucking, down the show notes, click on through, you'll be in and out for 30 seconds. Whatever $3 mean to you, it'd be great. Some people are being fantastic. They've upped their pledges just because they're sound, and it means more to them. And they're like, $3 here's what's, no biggie. Mighty to have you on board. Of course, there is the Tom and Jerry show still ticking over. We just recorded a rake of them, of the bonus episodes. Literally, I'm burst, but it's brilliant. We have a rake of them now, because we will be starting recording episode season 6 either next week, the end of next week, or the beginning of the following week. So if you don't follow the Tom and Jerry show, go have a fucking look at that. Jerry with a G. It is there for all you to see. Give it a gander. It's a right bit of crack. And we've been having bonus episodes with fucking everybody, from comedians to sports people to singers to, Brizzy, Deirdre O'Kane, Bernard Jackman. Great acts with all fantastic stories. So go give that a fucking gander. Now, that is all I really have to say in the way of housekeeping. I'm going to move on into today's guest. Today's guest is a long-term friend. I've always have such a good time hanging out with this fella. He's just one of them lovely people. He's a great bit of crack. Very talented man when it comes to writing, and a very, very funny whore. Sit back and enjoy the brilliant Cian McGarrigle.
Oh, that's good. Sorry, this start is me going, oh, that's good. A voice said recording in progress.
You turned into such a nana. You're like, oh, Jesus, look at that. Oh, Jesus, no.
A thing just popped up and said, and asked me, did I want to leave the meeting because you were recording it?
Did it?
Yeah, it said recording in progress. And then it said continue or leave meeting. So you can be like, well, I'm out of here, boys. I was never here.
Wow, Christ. I didn't know what popped up at the people's ends, and she's only started talking now recently. That one, like, so.
That's the first time I've seen that. I suppose so. I presume if you were planning to storm the Capitol or something, you want to know that it's being recorded. You're like, don't want this to be brought up on the internet in years to come.
Are you overly private? I doubt you are. Like, you know the way people are very conscious about, hey man, you know they're going to use all of my stuff.
I'm not really. No, I don't put every single aspect of my life out there on the internet, but at the same time, I don't hide. You know, I think for a while, myself and my wife were we were quite pleased that we didn't think Facebook knew we were married, or that we even knew each other. You know, we were like, we've tricked them, but of course they do. Like, you know,
of course they do. Facebook was at the wedding in everybody's pocket.
yeah, we live streamed it.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Somebody said to me once, because I used to do when I was doing stand-up, I used to have a bit about, like, you know, worrying when you're just about to become a parent. And somebody said to me, it was like, did you ever have that kid? Did your wife have that kid? I was like, yeah, of course. This is the normal length of time, 9 months, and then it was. And they said, oh yeah, just because I didn't see photos all over the internet, like on all your social media. And I was like, oh yeah, I suppose I never made the conscious. I just, at the start, I was like, I just won't put pictures up.
Yeah.
But it's not like I don't have any pictures of my son online.
Isn't that funny? Like, does he exist? Basically, is what somebody said.
Does he exist? Because they were just wondering, because they hadn't seen any photos of him on Facebook, and they're like, okay.
Clearly, you're not a parent. So you're not a parent if you haven't put your child online.
Maybe I was just making it all up because I thought of some funny jokes.
I know, because there's a few people I know that have used the soon-to-be father stuff, and they're using it. The kid is in fucking secondary school, like, you know what I mean?
Listen, I did I did a set summer before last. I think it was the last stand-up set I did, and I still did that stuff. Like, I prepped it in advance of, like, I had some whatever. And it was like, oh, but when I was, and I really felt at the time, I was like, wow. This material is old. I know how old it is because my son is the same age as these jokes.
Yeah, literally, you quantify it by the age you're. Yeah, perfect. So by the time he's tiny shoelaces and actually writing, I think it might, it's hard to put him away.
He's going into first class, so I think it's time to put that away. But I haven't done stand. Well, nobody has, but I haven't really done stand up in so long. So that was coming out of retirement as a gig. It was like, I'll do it because it was in Kilkenny, and I was like, why not?
Are you originally from Kilkenny?
No, my wife is.
Right.
That's why we came back here when we fled Dublin.
Because I remember you were one of the first people that bust out. There was no pandemic or anything, but it was a couple of years back where I remember you telling me, no, I'm off to Kilkenny now, and that's it. I was like,
yeah.
And I was so indoctrinated by the idea that you needed to be in the city or whatever. And I was like, oh man, how are you going to do it, man?
Well, to be honest, we didn't kind of really know. Like everything, we just do stuff. We're bad at planning. I'm terrible at planning. And we kind of got to the point where we were like, look, we knew, like, we're never going to be able to afford to buy a house in Dublin where we want to live. Like, we were living in Stony Batter. I'd been there for 10 years, and like, with the house we were renting, we'd never be able to afford it.
Yeah, of course.
Buy it, like, off the landlord. So we were like, well, we can't continue to live here like, and purchase a house. And we're not going to be, we didn't want to be living in the suburbs of Dublin. You're like, what's
the point of that? You may as well.
Yeah, we liked living in the middle of town. And so we decided before the young lads started school and all that, we'd be like, we might as well go and sort of settle somewhere where we probably will have a chance of doing it, as opposed to like waiting till he's in like second class and then we moved. And so we just upsticked and headed to Kilkenny because her family are here, and we're like, well, that makes a bit as a not a commuter town, but in shooting distance of Dublin.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, and the world of it, like you were the outrunner, the maverick.
I'm breaking the mold as usual.
but isn't it funny? Like literally what you just said there, like, let's just do it because of the kid and stuff like that. Gordo's done the same thing. I've done the exact same thing.
It kind of gets to the point where you're like, look, I'm thinking about other things now, and I'm thinking about the future a bit more, where the future was never a consideration, you know.
Yeah. This is being an adult now, this shit, like.
Yeah, you're slowly starts to dawn on, and you're like, oh no, is this it? Have I become an adult suddenly, or stealthily? But then I mean, we didn't really have a plan. I was thinking I'd just commute up to Dublin every so often for work, because I was kind of working shift work as an editor, and I'd do like 3 days a week. And I was like, oh, that's manageable. And we were living on the Dublin side of Kilkenny at the time, like not in the city. Yeah. So like an hour on a Sunday, you'd be in Dublin. From our house to the Quays on a Sunday, it was an hour. So I was like, yeah, it's grand. But then I got work down here, so we didn't have to do that.
Grand.
Yeah.
But do you know, isn't that gas? Because you will make it work. That's, I think, what the biggest thing for me was like, what the fuck are we? But all of a sudden, oh yeah, it's actually grand. It works perfectly.
Yeah, and it's, there's luck involved, and we were very lucky that, like, just the way jobs worked out. I actually moved down slightly earlier than the others, just to start working a job. But it was grand. It was lucky. And I was just talking to a guy, a young writer, yesterday, and he was asking me, do you have to be in Dublin to write? He's trying to become a TV writer, and he was asking me, like, do you have to be in Dublin to be working in TV? And it's like, I don't think you do anymore, because this, like, you can just go, like, I did say to him, like, I was already writing before I left Dublin, so, like, but I don't think there's a big difference.
But there's this now. There's literally this.
Exactly.
Like,
this is it.
You have a writer's room after this. And I'm guessing you ain't going to a room.
No. I mean, there's some things that I think will go back to being like a writer's room, especially. I think for certain stuff, you'd like to be in the room with each other.
Yeah.
But for all those meetings and stuff, if you're just talking to someone about one person about a script you've written or a script you want to write or something like that, why? I have, before the pandemic, I've like driven up to Dublin for an hour meeting or an hour and a half, and then driven home, and you're like, that's my whole day gone.
Yeah.
For an hour and a half of a meeting that could be done like this. Like, so, I think he was, anyway, this young, I was relieved to be like, yes, good, because I might not be able to afford to live in Dublin.
I think what's the last time I saw you? You had the podcast the time you were living in Dublin. Properly hung out with you anyway. Like, I mean, I
think we probably, was it at the Vodafone Comedy Festival?
Yes.
Saw each other?
Yes, you're right. Christ.
Which was 2018, 17?
20. I think it was, I'd say 2018, I'd say.
And I don't think I wasn't on, because we did it with Reviewables, or IP Reviewables. Our podcast that myself and Edwin had, we were on in one of the podcast tents in 2017. And we did it, I think it was 2017. We did it as a big, messy game show thing with loads of people on stage. And it was good fun, but it was completely mad. Like, it was too many people on a stage, just too much talking over each other. But it's the Vodafone Comedy Festival. It's good crack.
Yeah, but why, I have to ask, well, how come Reviewables didn't continue? Had had Zoom and whatnot been? Was it not in your lexicon, or just? It's always tough when there's two blokes involved. Like, I guess.
I think when I moved, I did come back up every so often, and we keep doing it. We do ones at the weekends and that. But then I think I genuinely believed that for comedy you have to be in the room.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't work over Zoom. And obviously that's been proved completely wrong by loads of old comedy podcasts that kept going and that were like, you know, Comedy Bang Bang, though that sort of like improv thing that still managed to work on Zoom. So I was like, oh, well, I was wrong. But yeah, so then just was like, oh, I think it's time to hand it over.
Yeah, because the last thing I remember from that was we invented pizza lollies. Do you remember pizza lollies?
That was, oh, let me see now. I'll look it up and I'll be able to tell your listeners. So I have to go back and find pizza lollies.
I still think that's a runner, Cian.
Look, Tom, if you don't copyright it, right, there we go. July 2018, we did it, or it went out. It's on. If you look up pizza lolly Tom O'Mahony, listeners,
that's incredible. That's actually tagged in it. That was the wow.
There you go. That was. I do. The other time I go back and listen to some of them, they're funny. But like now, you've got like I listened back to one episode there recently, and I had Peter McGann on it, and then at the end of the episode, Peter McGann came on doing an ad. It was like, this is just so weird now.
Jesus,
it was like, you know, the rolling ad
that
they have on Acast or whatever it's on, and it was like, that's strange. Just
the algorithm got weird
shouldn't be doing the ad at the end, but it's just rolled in.
That's like I had Dave Moore on last week from Today FM. He landed a gig doing a voiceover, but at the time he was producing music and ads. And as he walked up the road, he got a phone call going, "Hey, just got an ad in there from a guy doing a Russian accent." He was like, "Yes," and it was him. He literally got the gig on the way home to fucking produce the thing. He's like, "Fucking 2 checks, baby. Thank you very much."
Nice.
It's odd though. I mean, nobody saw this coming. And I was chatting with somebody on the phone yesterday who's their whole business. They're in construction, but their whole business has had to kind of move. He's actually landing more jobs. He's very specialized. It's golf course building, but he's landed jobs now because he's kind of nearly able to charm himself over Zoom, where he says he's just landed the biggest job in Europe in Belgium. And he says, realistically, because of Zoom, I'd say that's why I got it, because I was able to stay on with the lads, and where other people were, I must fly in and meet you to talk. I was constantly on tying in with him. But
yeah, I
remember a couple of years ago, I was gigging in London, and after the gig, there was a couple of big old names on the lineup. These, you know, kind of, well, I say big names, but what they are is kind of those burnt out older British comedians who are like, I fucking, do you deserve this? But afterwards, I'd had a good show, and afterwards, these two lads came over, very enthusiastic. Real London, they come over and they're like, fam. And this boy started talking about film selling tickets virtually, also to live shows. Wouldn't it be fantastic to get two forms of fucking streams of income? And I went, lads, you're fucking dreaming.
All these people who are ahead of their time, I know, shutting them down, going, that'll never work. You guys are morons. And then you're like, oh yeah, okay, I see what he was talking about now.
Yeah, Christ.
But there is a thing though, especially with stand-up, like even across virtual shows and everything, you're like, it's great that people are doing it and are able to do it, and there's an audience, but it's not the same.
No.
I've watched a few, and you're like, this is good, but it's like watching a stand-up DVD at home. You're removed from it completely. You're not there. There's not the same.
The only thing that works that I found is when it's not stand-up. You know what I mean? If you can almost make it like a conversation piece, like a monologue to a degree.
Yeah.
But if if you're throwing a hook out there for any sort of reaction from people, forget about it. Like we did a phenomenal virtual thing in Galway a couple of months back. And it was this fucking huge LCD screen, and they had like 100 people on the wall, and they were able to pull people up in front. Like we're talking 16 foot by 16 foot by 10 foot screens.
Right.
Phenomenal cost to bring. And if I would not be lying, Cian, if I said, give me an old pallet and 5 people in a field.
You'd be better off.
Because there's no, it's as close to it as, that's why I never think, they talk about these AI sex that's it'll take over, where you just lie down and just a milking machine basically sorts you out. You have these Black Mirror style fucking VR goggles on.
This is an interesting jump. Yeah, go on.
But by the same token, tis only grand. You know what I mean?
There's a pull quote for the box. Tis only grand. Come on, Tom. We need more energy. Come on. That's all we get. Tis grand.
Tis grand. Tis grand.
No, it is. It's the thing of you want to be back in the stinky, smelly, cramped back room of a pub.
Yeah, like I used to love the Bankers. Do you remember we used to do the Bankers?
The Bankers, yeah.
I mean, we all a tiny little fucking landing that all of us shouldn't have been on. A photograph actually popped up in a timeline. Somebody tagged me in. I don't know if they tagged you, but you were in it.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't see that. Of us standing on the stairs in the Bankers.
Yeah. And we all looked kind of a bit fucked, but not like we look youthfully fucked, if you know what I mean. Like I'm guessing there was either beer or just fear or something was involved, like, or anxiety or something.
And probably if it was in any way warm, just sweat because you're just standing on that staircase and all the hot air is coming up.
Yeah, Jesus, yeah. Fucking hell. The old big cramp fucking stairs.
Yeah, the Bankers was weird. The only thing I liked playing in the Bankers, the only thing was that thing of you were outside the room. You couldn't hear properly what was happening. So there's a lot of coming in and you're like doing a bit and you're like, oh no, did somebody already do this?
Yeah.
Material, and you're like, yeah, okay.
Or
the Bankers was the spot I remember retiring a joke because a drunk guy in the audience got the punchline, and said it out, right? And I was like, okay, if that guy in his inebriated state is able to get to the punchline and figure it out, I have to get rid of this joke.
See, that's the staunch writer in you there. Now you had the enough self-awareness to go, oh, so literally a cat wandered into my room and finished off the paragraph. That's essentially what happened because this guy is brain dead, full of drink.
He got a great laugh, and I took credit for it, so it was fine because I was going to say the same thing. But I was like, oh, that has to go. That joke is gone now. But
does that discipline come as a result of being a writer, where you have to fucking, as they say, they kill your babies, like, well, you go, this is a fucking really good fucking piece, guys. We should.
I suppose. I mean, that one was literally because I was like, no, well, if this guy's, I mean, the whole point is that the audience should not be ahead of you.
Yeah.
But I suppose there is a bit of that. I reluctantly let things go. I'm reluctant to do it, but I know it has to be done. It depends on what I'm working on. I think if I'm writing for somebody else, it's much easier to go, oh, okay, that's not going, grand, we'll just cut that bit.
Yeah.
Whereas if it's my own thing that I've been working on myself, I think it's much harder. I'm very
blurry, just as you said that. I think it's the weight of your speech. It's a brand new camera I'm after getting, and I don't know what I'm after fucking do, but I have the settings set at some I think it's expecting me to run or something like that. I don't know. But sorry for cutting you off of my fucking weird vision.
I think that's it though. If it's your own thing that you've been working on, I'm much more reluctant to. I'm like, it's harder to tear bits away from me. I'm like, no, that's the way it has to be. That joke has to be there or whatever, or that scene. And you just have to it has to be pried away from you. That's why I think I'm working with script editors at the moment on two different things, on a feature I'm writing and on a series, a TV series. That sounds very highfalutin, but this is just stuff I'm doing myself. I haven't, this hasn't been commissioned or anything like that.
Okay, cool.
But it's just to get it to that, try to get it to the point where people will take an interest, or you can get some interest from a broadcaster or whatever, because I can only get stuff to a certain point myself as a writer, and then I need someone else to come in and read it and go, well, actually what you're doing wrong is this, or what you need more of is this, or here's why this bit doesn't work. Because
have you gotten very good at being polite around the situation? Because there's two creative kind of ego is coming in at that point, just because I could see myself being a maniac and going, "Are you fucking stupid? Did you not? Are you reading what I fucking wrote?" You know, internally, but externally, I'm going, "I see," as my eye starts to twitch, like going, "I get."
Oh, I've had, but it's a learning curve. Like my first big writing job was I'd written for like Republic of Telly, and I'd done a Storyland and a couple other things, but I got a job writing an episode of Red Rock. Remember, it's still on TV, they're still showing it. And the notes I got back from the head writer were she didn't pull punches. Like, she was
really,
it was just, I mean, to be fair, like, she's over the whole series and she's reading everyone's scripts and she doesn't have time to be nice. It was just like, no, this is, what was the line she wrote on it now? This is tedious. That was what it was. This is tedious. And I was like, oh, okay. And no, this is this is not trying to be mean to her. It was tedious. It needed to be a lot better. But it was at that point I was like, oh, okay, all right.
Did you get the full episode? Did you get the?
I wrote a full episode, and then they did actually. Then they because of the way, they have these things. They have like a series and have all these different storylines and whatever going on. They had to move some stuff around, so something from another episode got put into mine. So I didn't get full writer's credit on the episode or whatever, but I wrote an episode, and I was lined up to write more when they got cancelled. So that was a shame.
Because I know Johnny Camden wrote one.
Johnny wrote a bunch of them. Yeah, that's where I met Johnny. Actually, I'd never met Johnny doing stand up. I met him literally in the writers' room of Red Rock.
Right.
And he's gone on to do loads of British. Casualty and EastEnders and loads of things.
I know he was in England for a long time too, you see, and I know he would have rubbed shoulders with a lot of big names. Well, actually, I mean, would have played with an awful lot of fucking big acts and stuff like that. So he'd be cute enough, crafty enough to get his leg in the door there.
Yeah, I'm coming through Red Rock because Red Rock was produced by like this guy John York, who has worked on all of those shows.
Okay, right.
And there was I was like, oh, should I keep going? And I was kind of thinking of going down that route, and then I was like, oh, this sounds hard. And it's not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I should have pursued it more. I still might down the line, but I was kind of got other work writing, so it was.
Do people like, what is a normal? Well, there is no normal week. I suppose everything changes from because it's such a vast profession to be doing. But who approaches you then, and what manner do they approach you in, going, hey, and how do you deflect if you're shite? Like,
how do I deflect if someone wants me to write on something that's shite?
Yeah. Or do you go, listen, we'll try and polish this turd as best we can, like?
Somebody has money. It's not shite. I know, actually, most things I don't think I've worked on anything that I'd be like, that's absolutely unredeemably terrible. Yeah.
And by the power of pressing the stop button and record again, we're a day later. I'm here back, of course, with Cian McGarrigle. And adulting again, Cian. I got an adult phone call that electrician showed up and had to go and adult the situation to, like, that shit doesn't happen as a baby. Nobody's going, hey, you got fucking responsibilities. Come on. The jealousy. When you're writing, have you ever gone, I want to get inside the mind? Obviously you would because you're writing. But is there ever a ridiculous person you're trying to get inside the head of? Do you know, or like a child?
A child? I find ridiculous people very easy to write. I don't know what it is. Very easy to draw on life experience. But yeah, I think it slowly just creeps up on you. You're like, oh well, better do this thing now and better edge the lawn. I was out the other day edging the lawn.
That's the most adult shit of all time. Like, you're edging the lawn. Yeah, man.
It's not. We don't even own the house. Like, why am I doing it? But making it nice, like just, and you know, that sort of thing was only done when you had to do it. You know, your parents would make you go out, get the lawnmower. Since you're home, you go home, come home from college, grand, get the lawnmower and go out there and mow that lawn for me.
Yeah, I've been considering getting a goat. Just fucking letting them have it. Get loose. Just fucking get out there, nibble the grass. I think there's an awful benefit to having a goat.
I mean, there's the lawn and many other benefits that I can't think of right now.
Well, I mean, you can milk the goat, and then also you own a goat. How cool is it to own a goat?
I mean, that's true. You could just say, "I'll just go out. I think it's out behind the goat." What's a goat like noise-wise? They're probably not that noisy.
No, they're not. They just make a little kind of. That's it. Yeah. They're like as good as a guard dog if you can get a good angry one. So angry, you know, goat. They've got two knives on their head. So
I got a thing through the door the other day. It was trying to sell those robo lawnmowers. You know, the ones
parents have one.
It's do they?
Unbelievable. Never, no petrol, no pull starting the cunt, no fucking pushing it around for an hour, sweating your balls off, dumping. There's no dumping the grass. That for me is the number one because it's just taking a millimeter every day, and that's enough for it to break down naturally. So
So you never have to
dumping the grass ever again.
See, I don't even have a place to dump the grass here, and I have to go every so often. I have just bags of grass. I have to go to the dump and get rid of them. And then it's just like, oh, come on.
Yeah, tarmac the fucking thing. You know what I mean? Or what's the point? Fucking hell. But getting back to the writing and whatnot, and I think the last thing we were talking about was, you know, is there anything where you won't turn down? But has anything ever surprised you? We've gone, oh, this is actually class. This is, you know what I mean? Where you hadn't high hopes, but there's nothing lovelier than finding out a thing is actually turned out brilliant for you.
Yeah, I think there is actually. There's the odd time where I've come on board with something like maybe not as writing, but like almost like a script editor thing, like helping someone out with like as a favor. You send you a script and do a pass on it and give them notes or whatever. And there's been a few times like that where things have gone like, just see real improvement, like something getting really good, like, and you know, there have to have been something in it at the start for you to want to go like, I will, because I've done it in the past where even just agreeing to read scripts from people, you're like, oh yeah, I'll read that script. When I was starting out, I was like, oh, I'll direct. Like I went into college studying film, and I was like, oh, I'm going to write. And then when I got into college, I was like, oh, this directing is kind of like the idea of directing.
Yeah.
I kind of did a little bit of that, and then went, no, I'll just do the writing. But I was getting scripts sent to me by people. I'd made a short. This was about 9 years ago now. And I was on the lookout for maybe some other scripts that people might need a director, and I got sent some by some producers, and just some of the stuff you get sent is just shocking. Like, just stuff where you were like trying to apply to schemes that are like, you know, going to give you like 10,000 euro or whatever, which sounds like a load, but it's not.
You've burned through that in no time. Like.
Yeah, that's a small, low budget short that you're making, and you have enough there to feed your crew and maybe pay some people a little bit of money. And this is what we were going to apply for. And this lad is sending you scripts that have like a car chasing a train and stunts and everything. And on top of that, it was like a terrible script. But you're looking at it going, what do you think we're going to do with this? Like, they're going to look at it and go, you can't make that for 10 grand. Like, you're not even going to get near a train. Like, you can't even afford the insurance to get into the train station. So that sort of thing was, so, you know, I kind of got a bit wary then of helping people. But if I know someone, or if, you know, if someone's recommended, or, you know, that sort of thing, you're doing something.
That reminds me, I'm going to send you a script.
Yeah, I know but there's that sort of stuff can be surprising. And also in the last while, I've started writing for animation, which I'd never even really considered before. It was completely, obviously I was aware that animation is going on and in Ireland, and there's like a really thriving animation industry.
Thriving, yeah.
But I'd never even thought about like, well, I could do that. I don't know, it just wasn't. I was like, oh yeah, that's other people do the animation stuff.
Yeah, of course.
And then I got it. I was editing for Cartoon Saloon. I edited a series for them, and I just started getting into animation. And I was like, oh yeah, just see how much opportunities are there. And so I've been doing a bit of animation writing, which is.
Can you let your imagination go wild then? Because anything's possible, is it? Surely.
You can and you can't. It was a steep learning curve for me, because I was the same. I was like, well, you can draw anything.
Yeah.
But everything you come up with, someone has to design. Like, they don't just draw it in. Like, there's so there's a design team that are like saying, oh, he has a car. Like, okay, well, we have to design all the cars in the show. And they're like, well, this car turns into a robot. And they're like, okay, we have to design the robot car then. And then
yeah.
Everything takes time, and that costs money. But like, they can be in space as easily as they can be in a sitting room.
I'm with you. Yes. Yeah.
But you do have to limit yourself. This is just the practicalities of it. Like, when you're writing it, it doesn't really matter. But like, when you get down into the actual making of the show, someone has to spend time designing every little thing that you come up with, and that costs money because they're getting paid. And there's a limited budget on the show, and there's time limits and all this. So there is limits that I've never even thought about. I just presumed everything just gets drawn.
Just like me, I thought, right, so we can draw flying cows, can we? Great.
Yeah. And you can. It's just there's a team and there's a workflow behind it, and there's all this stuff. Like all the locations are done by somebody, and like these amazingly skilled artists drawing these like fantastic locations that you see, and then kids don't even pay attention. It's just the background. You're like, this person is
Peppa Pig.
Do
you know what I mean? That's what
designed by somebody.
But versus space cows, and kids love Peppa Pig. Like, so just saying.
I've never been as aware of how bad I am at art as I was working in Cartoon Saloon, because every single person in there can draw like to a phenomenal degree. Like these no messing around. Like, everyone in there is really good, like really, really good. And I'm there clicking buttons on the computer going, I'm an editor. The editors they're all like a little group of themselves, and they're all no artistic talent whatsoever. Well, I certainly didn't.
And do you find yourself being drawn to a certain, when it's say you were given a blank you're said, right, here's a ball of money, sit down, create something. Is comedy, would that be where you go down, or you fuck this, I want to do a slasher movie, never done it like that before?
I kind of always find myself leaning towards comedy.
Yeah.
Not exclusively, like, but it tends to be, even when I come up with like dark stuff, it tends to be dark and comedic.
Right. Yeah.
It just the way my brain works. Like, when I was a kid, I was making stupid little videos on the camcorder at home, like, which I suppose if it was nowadays, I'd been putting up on YouTube, but this was just for the family to watch, like just stupid things with my brothers and sisters, fake ads and sketches, like.
So you're way ahead of your time. So.
Well, I mean,
you'd probably be a millionaire child now.
I would, yeah. That's definitely the only reason I'm not a millionaire. So I've been telling this. I've been telling the bank this as well, but they don't want to know. But yeah, no, stupid stuff. Like, I remember we did an ad for instant water. It's a powder, and you add water, and then you have water. And I thought that was the funniest thing ever.
I'm not joking with you. That's pretty fucking tight. That's pretty tight. Like, as a.
But yeah, it was just, I was always sort of leaning towards kind of comedy stuff. So I kind of would. The stuff I come up with is normally comedic, but I'm working on a horror series at the moment.
Are you?
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm developing it myself. I've put a good bit of work into it myself, and I'm hoping to get it off the ground or get somebody interested in it. But it's not comedic at all. It's dark. It's very, very dark. And it's the first time I've done something that's that there wouldn't be like there's no jokes in it, you know, at all.
Do you need anybody with a mullet and a mustache like this?
Yeah, every horror has to have someone with a mullet and a mustache in it, really.
Most definitely, yeah.
A horror series set in Mayo, that's what I want to write. But yeah, but no, generally stuff is just kind of tends towards comedy, like, and I found that I can write stuff that's funny, or at least I think it's funny. I mean, that's why I started doing stand-up.
Yeah, of course.
I was writing comedy scripts and trying to get people interested and trying to get funding for shorts and things and having no luck at all. And then you just started doubting, you know, you kind of doubt yourself then. You're like, is this actually any good, or am I just, I mean, the thing is the scripts weren't any good, but I was like, am I trying to figure out, like, am I actually fooling myself? Is any of this funny? So I thought, like, if I do stand up, I'll find out pretty quickly.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You very quickly, obviously, if you can tell a joke or not, or write a joke.
It's rough too, like, isn't it? Because it could have been high quality stuff, but not what they're looking for right now. So, you know.
Yeah, there's a million reasons why something gets turned down, and like, look, I mean, it has to be really good. Well, mostly. And then there's look, there's the person read, like people point out, like it's the person reading it. Like we did a thing, we did a Storyland series a while back.
Yes, I remember that, yeah.
Yeah, and so Barry Murphy was in it, and Mark Doherty and Colin McDonald, and it was great. Like it was amazing to have like Barry Murphy and Mark Doherty when I was a kid, like watching them do Couched and The End and all that stuff. And then like they're in a thing you've written, it's like, holy shit, this is mad. But we were doing that, and it was in for funding. We'd applied to 2 funding schemes. We applied to the Storyland scheme that RTE run, and then we'd applied to this film-based scheme. So I had a slightly altered version of the script that we'd run with that I'd applied to film-based. And anyway, so we had 2 interviews, one on a Tuesday and one on a Wednesday. And in the film-based interview, one of the people on the panel went through it and just said, this is just not good. Like, she did not like it. It was not her cup of tea, and she let us know, which is fair enough. But I was like, we're a bit like, oh, okay. And then we went into RTE the next day. They were like, this is great. We really like this. And myself and the director were sitting there going, like, what's this? Like, what? You can't tell.
No.
Like, and like, it got made and it did very well. People really liked it, and we did it. We kind of went around with a few festivals with it, and it's as a, you know, there was like web series festivals and things, and yeah, it did really well, and it was a great thing to have, and it got me in working with that production company and everything. But it's not on the internet now. It's gone, has to be gone, because we don't have the rights to it or whatever.
Isn't that funny? Just you say that, it could be down to the person, literally 180 degrees polarity. Like,
personal taste, isn't it?
Like we just like the exact same as that. We made myself and a writer made it was based around the dark underworld of stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
9-minute fucking pilot, put it forward, and same guy now has written award-winning stuff. We had Colin McDonald, we had John Cleary, we had Pat McDonald and Joe Rooney involved, and one or two more. But it was just like literally not a whole place.
It's so like,
it was phenomenal how they just, it wasn't even a case of, okay, so you got this culmination together, you got this.
They just didn't want to know.
Get the fuck out. Get out to fuck. And the same guy writes for RTE, so it wouldn't have been that he would have been blacklisted or anything, like, you know, he writes stuff for RTE.
You're going in going like, this is talent that is well capable of delivering stuff. They're known faces, they can act. This guy can write, and like, no, we don't want to. We've what was it? So I did a short. The first short that I had written myself and directed was it's up on Vimeo. You can watch it. It's called No Messages. We shot it in Thomas House in on just across from Vicar Street. Great pub. So we shot that, and it was good enough, doing the rounds, getting into loads of festivals, good audience reaction. People really enjoyed it, like, and we were trying to get it in with this kind of distributor who, you know, he'll take on a short film and get it around to like sell it to a TV station in Azerbaijan or I don't know, wherever,
Yeah.
and then just get you a little bit of money maybe. No, didn't want to see it. He was like, it's set in a pub. No, don't care. It's like, and the producer was kind of like, it's good, like it's really good. It plays really well in front of an audience. He goes, no, there's too many Irish films set in pubs. They're all terrible. Don't see it. And just did not care. And that's it. Like his obviously his choice. That's what he didn't want, but he didn't. He just immediately was like, no, thank you very much. Let's give me something else. And there you go. You can't. And if it had been somebody else, they might have. You don't know what would have happened out of it. Like myself and the Rory Connolly from Diet of Worms, who was the lead in it. We wrote a pilot based on it. Like I would do a whole series, and we got good. Like we were kind of touting it around a bit and got a little bit of interest. It never went anywhere, and people liked the pilot script and all that. And we kind of have it as a nice writing sample now, but it's that sort of thing of if your man had maybe been on board for it and watched it, it might have gone somewhere. Someone might have seen it.
He could have had a row with the fucking wife that weren't keen. Do you know what I mean? Like
so many variables that go into some person's decision. Like there's so much chance that happens in the business that you no control over whatsoever. You just have to go, oh well, this is what it is. Like you can never, like you can't change someone's taste. Do you know what I mean? You can change someone's mind about something. You could convince them to watch something that they had not wanted to watch. But if somebody watches something and they don't like it, I don't know if there's any way you can make them like it. Like, especially with comedy.
But I mean, I'm sure I would sit and watch things and go, no, that's not for me. But commercially, I can see that absolutely fucking working. You know what I mean? Like if it was a thing based around English football, I go, oh God, I want to pull my fucking teeth out. But that could definitely work. So, I mean, opinion is one thing, and
I think there's a lot of producers who would be like, this isn't my cup of tea, but I'm certainly gonna help you try and get it made because I can see that there's an audience for this thing. Yeah, that's definitely out there, right? But yourself, like if you show someone like a comedy that you love and they don't like it, it's the most excruciating experience.
It's going to get better. It's going to get wait.
And they're looking at you like, what's wrong with you? Why do you think that's funny? And it's just, it's awful.
It's brutal.
Really, so tasting comedy is especially like you have to really like it. I suppose. Like I went to see Stuart Lee in Vicar Street a couple of years ago with my friend Will, and we were, you share the table.
Yeah.
So there's myself and Will sitting at this table, and then a couple. Now, I don't know who they were. I don't know if it was their first date. I don't know if they were a long-term couple or whatever, but it became apparent that he was a fan of Stuart Lee and she was along because like, hey, let's go see this comedian. Because the more he laughed, the angrier she looked.
Really?
She was just annoyed. And it's that thing of like, you brought me to see this guy and he's not. And Stuart Lee is very divisive anyway.
He's Marmite. He's absolute fucking Marmite.
Yeah, and he was doing his whole stuff about like, oh, this room's too big, there's too many people here, half of you people shouldn't be here, you're not my crowd, that sort of thing, where he's trying to turn the crowd on itself. And we were all laughing because it's like, oh, this is his
shtick. This is his shtick.
Yeah, and no, this was just, she was not, and I don't think it's it's just taste, like she's just not on for it. And then there was an interval. After the interval, they did not come back to the table.
Brilliant. I can imagine that conversation.
Oh, just like, why did you bring me to that? Like, that's shite. Like, but it's just the way it is. So if you're trying to get, and I think especially when you're trying to get like a comedy made and you have a script alone can be really hard to sell something on.
Yeah, oh Christ, because stuff can read really badly if it's,
I was just talking about this the other day. I was saying, like, I've never read the script of like a Will Ferrell film, like Step Brothers or something.
Yeah.
I don't know how that would read on the page because that's all about the two boys.
It would read terribly on the page. It would absolutely read terribly on the page. Like, you can only imagine that he has half a directorial role when he's there going, right, we know the script, yeah. So, but I'm going to make it Will Ferrell. Of course you are. Of course you are Will Ferrell. Off you go, Will Ferrell.
I mean, that's what we're along for the ride and we know who it is. So if you're known like that, but that's why I suppose it's more and more people are making their own little like taster reel or whatever for a show to try and like they're going like, this is the show we want to make, and here's like 3 minutes of the style of it just to try and sell it, because people I suppose want to have to see how it's going to play out or whatever, or that there is jokes or that there is going to be, or I don't know. It's so.
I was in a movie that it was strange. I shot it for a full week. We were in a movie that we shot down in Offaly, and it was the only straight role I've ever played. Like, but well, I didn't really fully understand what the premise, or well, not the premise, but why it was getting made, because it was completely being self-funded. Now there was a cast, and he was paying everybody, and he was obviously after this is his life savings.
Is this Michael Flatley's film?
Not quite. Okay. But it was. The idea was that he was going to make it with all of us, and in the hopes of putting it out to investors to get it remade. It's like, would a pilot not just a really intense pilot put all this money into like 10 minutes instead of actually trying to make the whole thing?
Oh,
and he
wow.
did. Yeah, he did. And he was a hell of a nice guy. He'd done a lot of, it would seem he had a successful enough writing career abroad somewhere. And he was desperate to make this. It was dark. It was a fucking dark story. Like.
And have you seen the finished thing?
I saw, I did. And it looks good. It looks as, and this is the only thing I ever take away from Irish filming. And I remember saying this, I don't know, is it to Blake or Fox or one of the days, I'm a big supporter of anything Irish, but what's with the crunchy gravel? Why is there always fucking crunchy gravel in any Irish fucking filmmaking? It's the crunchy gravel. We understand they're walking. We don't need to hear you never see it in any other fucking, coming from any other country.
Maybe it's just lower in the mix.
Yeah. There you go. Like, it's crunchy. It's fucking crunchy. And it's like,
I've never heard anyone complain about that yet.
I swear to God,
that's going to annoy me now. I'm going to see it in every film.
Every Irish film, there'll be crunchy fucking gravel. Every fucking corner they walk around, it's like, and then they come to a stop, and that's when it punctuates the start of their fucking, and you're like, oh, come on. We don't need to know the surface.
Would that be, I never thought about that though, like making the film and then trying to get it made again. Like, would you not be doing it going, I've done this already?
Yeah, and I mean, and it was properly heavily directed. It wasn't like, let's just throw it out there, guys. It was like it was
wanted, like, yeah.
And he wanted it. He changed the name of it. So, and I don't actually remember what he said the new name of it was. It was a better name. It was a working title originally, and then it was a better name. And it was small town Ireland based. The idea being, and it was loosely based around kind of a bully of a father who was a sporting star, and one of his sons was shit hot, the others wasn't so much shit hot, and that was where the bullying began. And it ended up. Can you remember the name of it?
Sounds vaguely familiar. Did it get released? Like,
I don't. Only through festival.
There might have been something. You know what? There might have been something like about it, like this is being made, or maybe you told me about it before. I can't remember. It just rings a bell. But anyway.
Yeah. But he went and made for all intents and purposes, they made the film.
Yeah.
But the idea then, when we met up for a coffee afterwards, he going, the idea is you go, and it was like I was going, so you're going to cast it with just better and bigger actors, is that what you?
Yeah.
Possibly. I was like, I take no insult in this. You have paid me for this transaction, so that's absolutely fine. But
that's annoying if you get it gets made for a massive budget and becomes this huge international success, and you're like, yeah, I suppose Tom Hardy was all right in it, but I did a better job. That is the original. Wasn't that the thing with Disco Pigs? Disco Pigs, the Cillian Murphy film.
Yeah.
That so Cillian Murphy and another actor were doing the stage play for ages, and then they made the film, and he got cast in it, but she didn't. They cast someone else in the film. That must be. I'd say that was an awful kick in the teeth for her.
It almost happened with Damon Ivor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we done the Republic of Telly. I did 5 or 6 sketches playing this character in Republic of Telly, and then it got picked up by a production company, and they said, "Yeah, well, we don't know who he is or who the fuck any of these cunts are. Actually, you're about the only constant that we have to keep in it because you play both the characters, the lead fucking characters in it. The rest we're gonna have to put out auditions, you know." So I had to audition for my own part, and it was like 20 odd blokes that went for it. Like,
oh, that's hard. But that's even hard to make that decision, like as a director, because you're like, I have him doing this here. Like you've been auditioning for it in every sketch that you did on.
Yeah. And it was written with me in mind. And you know yourself, you're writing with somebody who has specifically already played the character. And
you're writing into what they're doing. Yeah, definitely. It's so much easier.
So, and now to be fair, your man, I think he turned out to be a very nice man, but was he professional. It was incredible to see somebody so professional, but he was.
I suppose when you're getting your money from the film board and wherever else the investment came from, you have to go like, look, we're not just, you know.
I mean, they knew it. You went from having, you know, I think we got about 100 quid a man for doing the Republic of Telly things to go on. We're going to properly fucking pay the actor now. So
you're getting picked up and brought to set, and
yeah.
There's it's a job now, so yeah, I suppose. But sure, you got the part.
Oh yeah, exactly. And I still disappoint people when they hear me speaking. They go, which is still to this day one of the funniest things. This is right, yeah.
They had, who was it? Patrick Murray used to talk about that, like your man who plays Tom Von Lawler.
Yeah.
Hate that people would go like, oh, he talks posh. They'd be really disappointed when they find out that Midge is a very well-spoken man.
I was in a taxi one night, and your man went, and it was right around the time it was like season 2 of Day 1 Out, and it was heading out of town. And he was looking into the rearview mirrors. Oh well, yeah man, yeah, fucking Damon and Ivan and all. I said, that's it. Fuck. Next thing you could see his ears peek up.
Yeah.
So when we heading to Fox Rock or what? I said, I don't know, we're heading out to fucking Kilmainham there, like, good man. Anyway, you're a culture, you know? I said, I'm a culture, you know. But you know something? And he just went off on one about Nidge and me and fucking, he went off on one. And his whole thing was, I don't think it's right.
Like, betrayed by acting.
Like we'd come into their living room. Now, I'm in no way aligning myself with the fucking the acting skills of Tom Vaughan Lawler. I'm just saying the man was angry at both of us that night. So that's about the only time we had parity.
That's gas though, that people would be like, you know, I'm so offended that you, on a television program, pretended to be somebody that you're not.
But sure, I mean, well, whatever about me, I mean, but Nidge, like, people were living Nidge. You know what I mean? Like, Conor McGregor's whole character is based on Nidge, like. You know what I mean? It is.
The folk hero kind of thing, you know. He's desperate, he's a bad guy, but he's such a great character. And Tom Von Lawler is so good.
Oh, yeah.
Really,
Christ.
like, he's something else as an actor. But yeah, it's just funny when people get so annoyed. And especially, I think, that way, where somebody who's very kind of well-spoken and middle class is playing a working class guy. And I don't think anyone was really, like, there's a history of that, of in comedy especially, of people, you know, kind of slumming it or whatever, and it can go wrong, but like I don't think anyone ever really complained about Nidge except for just the shock of finding out that he's not Nidge or he's not from, you know, the flats.
Yeah.
Great.
I don't think it's right. No.
I don't think it's right. There should be a tribunal about this. I'm not questions asked in the call.
Well, like, apparently they did have a lot of actual natives, shall we say.
There's a lot of, like, people from cast who were around, and they did do street casting kind of stuff.
Yeah, of headbangers too. Like, some absolute lunatics turned up as well. Apparently, it was fucking
like they did with The Wire. Like, you know,
Did
The
you have
Wire, a load of people in The Wire were like, had been in that, like, there was guys who had been in jail for selling drugs and were acting in it now. Like
Right.
the woman who played, what's her name, Sloop or something? She was a complete head case in it.
Yeah.
She went back to jail. Like, she was arrested for doing something. He was still kind of in there. But there was lads, like some of the cops had been, like, guys who were playing cops had been cops in that situation. Some of the
Right.
cops were like, there was I can't remember the name of the character, but he runs like a boxing club or something, and I think, and he's kind of trying to help kids in the area. He had been like a major heroin dealer back in the day and had gone to jail and reformed and come out and was like, and I got this part. But like, I was reading about it and it was like, holy, like he was a serious criminal, like, back in the day, and here he was playing the guy who's trying to keep the kids away from drugs. Like, it was mad.
I suppose, yeah, I played a bit of rugby in school, all right, back in the day, so that maybe qualifies me ever so slightly for that.
Oh no, I've been I think, what was I going to say?
What I wondered, because obviously stand up and having the ability to write so well, and then having stand up as well, being able to translate it, has that ever made you kind of want to go, here, well, let's get out in front of the camera? Totally. You know, I know you may have stuck your toe in that water a couple of times just because a gap needed to be filled, or you're like, nah, that's grand.
No, it's not. I'm not. I mean, the odd time you think, oh yeah, maybe, but no, I'm not. It's not something. I know so many actors, and you see how hard it is, and then you see people who are really good.
Yeah.
I remember getting, like, you're directing someone and you're like, oh wow, that's me. Just the way they're delivering the line, you're like, that's so much better now. The way
Right.
you said it,
Yeah.
it makes it seem like I'm really good at writing. How do you do that? And you just know, like, I mean, I did a voice on Nowhere Fast, Alison's sitcom.
Oh yeah.
I did a voice. I rang into a radio show and I'm in the background. I'm a racist DJ in the background of another scene. I'm saying something about immigrants or something terrible. But that was just
classic Cian.
Yeah, they needed a racist. Oh, this guy. But that, no, I wouldn't. I'm not really. I know my place, and it's not in front of the camera. I don't think it would be. I'm not even doing stand-up. I'm not. You can tell. You know that thing of, like, somebody goes up on stage and maybe their material mightn't be, like, really, really top notch, but they're killing, and it's them. Something about them is just really engaging, and the audience really enjoy it. And I know, because I've watched videos of myself doing stand-up, that is not me. I'm relying solely on the material, and if the joke is funny and, like, I can sell it a bit, but I'm in no way fooling myself into thinking, oh, I'm here comes Vicar Street. It's not. It was never. I never did stand up for that reason. It was just kind of to see, can I do it? Can I write jokes that make people laugh? And then, of course, when I started doing it, I was like, oh, this is a load of crack.
Yeah. Well, that's the other side of it. Yeah.
But, and I, like, don't get me wrong, when I was doing it, if people were like, would you want to, come on, do the intro at the weekend or whatever? It's like, oh yeah. And someone's going to give me money to tell jokes. Now that's even better. But I was never really convinced of myself as a stand-up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I saw me doing stand-up, I'd be like, oh yeah, some good jokes. But yeah, that's about it.
And that is the one thing, because I never set out to be an actor of any sorts. Like, but what I did find, more so than actually anything with a camera, but when I did panto, going back to stand-up, it lent into it something incredible.
Yes.
And I didn't know what it was. I just went, you're going back and you're using material, whatever, and you're going, okay, it wasn't that funny the last time I said it. What's changed? And it's like, oh, it's my face is 10 times bigger. You know what I mean? Like,
your performance skills have just been raised because you've been doing 2 shows a day for 6 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
The panto run is grueling, I'd say.
It's not too bad in the university in Limerick. It's 3 weeks.
Okay, all right.
So it's like I wouldn't. No, I mean the panto run in the likes of the Olympia and stuff like that. They're all panto-y people, and they've all done it. But I couldn't. I just wouldn't have it in me. I don't sing or dance or anything, Cian. I just come out and I'm pretty much.
You're the straight role kind of.
I'm me. I'm just me. I normally played an authoritative role in it, or who is a complete Aegis. So I normally play the cop, or I play the huntsman, or I play whatever. But I'm normally in Egypt. But they just let me play. But what I didn't realize what I was doing was I was feeding the adults. All the rest tend to be feeding the kids. I'm feeding the adults to start the humor.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean. So
you've got the lines that the parents are like, "Oh, that's a good one."
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm right. I like they allow me to rewrite a lot of my parts, or to at least modify them. And I, of course, modify them because I'm not a child and I know very little about children. Yeah. I write them for adults, like I would, leaving out just the swear words and keeping it a bit cheeky.
Tom, there's a lot of C words here that are not like anymore. In the 80s, maybe not anymore.
But they do run a one I'd love to do. They do run a one, I don't know, is it in Birmingham or something, but they run their 2 shows and then late at night at 10 o'clock.
They do a late show panto.
Yeah. And I've seen the videos of it. It's supposed to be, it's fucking brilliant. Now, it's a bit pervy in some of the...
I can imagine it is.
Well, I mean, theatre is a bit pervy anyway. Everybody's totally camp. And that's the thing, everybody's camp. Do you know what I mean? Male, female, straight, gay, bi, whatever. Everybody's just camp. Yeah. I even found myself coming back out, getting...
You were calling people darling.
I took back up the cigarettes, smoking them into the air. Darling. I'd become twink overnight.
Twink or a twink?
Oh yeah, twink or a twink. I bet she's sorry she went with that name.
I doubt she is.
No, she's
Probably
not.
Claims she invented the term.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Now that you mention it,
I'm trying to work twink into sketches I'm writing at the moment, just to get someone just to.
Oh, if you need insight, talk to this guy.
I don't think anyone's biting. I keep going, what about twink? And everyone else is like, no, we're not putting twink in this.
Oh, to actually use twink?
No, to do someone to do an impersonation of twink.
Would you believe the lead choreographer on Disenchanted right now and in a scary? She does an incredible twink.
Some of the stories you hear about that woman.
Oh, I've a dossier. Couldn't
tell them on a podcast.
No, well, you could. Oh, you could actually, but there's fuck it, I could do it. But
well, I'm just putting it out there for my legal team that I don't condone any of these or endorse any of these stories.
Any audio listeners, Cian is sitting back and rubbing his hands together. He's just put the kettle on. He wants to hear all these stories. Oh, there's some good ones out there. To be fair, I replaced her. We never crossed streams. I actually replaced her. She was in UCH, and then she wasn't, and then I came in. Just a lot of work, and I'm guessing I'm a hell of a lot cheaper actually too. Now that I think about it.
But I'd say so. Yeah.
Well, she had to have her own dress.
Cheap man.
Yeah, I'm the poor man's twink. Jesus, I don't think anybody
put that on your CV.
Anybody looking directly at my face with that written under me would go, I don't see it.
I think they've got the photo wrong. Okay, that's gas. Sorry, let me just check something here. Oh no.
What's happened?
Somebody's changing a meeting.
Oh yes, and I don't want to take up any more of your time because I know you're brilliantly. You are a busy man, which is great to fucking hear. So when are we going back to stand up, Cian? You are coming back to stand up, aren't you?
I don't know, Tom. I don't know. I mean, the pandemic didn't stop me doing. It did obviously stop me doing stand up. It stopped everyone doing stand up. But I'd already kind of stopped. Before. And even before I left Dublin, I kind of petered off, I was getting busy and I do that. It happened to me before though, where I was like, my interest goes down a bit and just, yourself, you have to hustle to get the gigs and then you have to take your evening to go, across town and to do 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever, or 10 minutes in my case. And then I just kind of stopped, and then we moved, and I was like, oh, well, I'm not driving up to Dublin
to
do a
15
gig.
minutes. Yeah.
And then if I'm up in Dublin for a weekend or something, I told myself, and I was like, why would I be up in Dublin for a weekend?
Yeah.
What would I be doing? So I kind of petered off. I did a gig down here at the one of the festivals someone had put on, and that reminded me of like, this is really enjoyable. Like, it was one of those gigs that was packed out and it was good. Just everyone was on, those gigs, you can't bomb. And I just went out and did like the 10 or 15 or whatever I was doing, that I was like, oh, this always, this works, and there you go. And everything was landing. And I kind of had myself and this guy Shane O'Keefe, we'd had a conversation about maybe setting up a club down here, because there's nothing running down in Kilkenny.
No.
And we kind of talked about it. We talked to a couple of venues, and then we kind of took the foot off the pedal a little bit on that, and then the pandemic happened. So, like, obviously out the door. So you never know. It might be something, but it kind of feel like if I got back into stand-up, I'd have to set up a night in Kilkenny.
Yeah. But they do go to stuff like I took Caveman. I didn't take the production company brought Caveman, the one man play that I was doing, took it to Kilkenny, and it was a Sunday night, and I thought, ooh, but it was that theatre. Christ, what's the name of it? It's down. I cannot remember the name of the theatre. It was a fine old, like it was it was a fine theatre, and they still
Watergate, was it?
It was the Watergate.
Yeah, right. Across some clears. It's a lovely place.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we got good numbers in there. They were good. It was a Sunday night audience, so they were a bit on the quieter side, but they were a class audience. There's a bunch of people hanging around the foyer afterwards and stuff like that. So I definitely think, or maybe perhaps have you considered writing anything for, writing a play?
Every so often I think about it. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I should do this. And then my problem sometimes is that I go, oh yeah, I should do this. And I start doing something new. And then you're like, would you not just concentrate on the thing you were doing?
Yeah.
Just not be spreading yourself thin. Because I'm writing this year. This year is the first year that I've been writing is my job, like the whole year so far.
Brilliant. That's so class.
It's been like, that's paid the bills. That's the whole, and it's the first year I've done it completely. 100% of the income is writing. So I'm doing like a good bit of stuff for people, and then I'm trying to get my own stuff off the ground, which is obviously you're fitting it around the paid work. And then I have thoughts like that. Maybe I'd write a play. Don't stop.
I get you.
Just do the thing you're doing until it's done, and then maybe think about something else. Like it's
yeah.
Concentrate myself on a couple of projects of my own. But then, not get too distracted. But at the same time, like if somebody came along and was like, "We've got this, this great idea, this great scheme where these actors who need a script for a play," you'd be like, "Oh yeah, I wrote a play once, a short play years ago when I was in school, and like had it on in the Cork Theatre Festival. I think it was Cork Arts Festival, something like that, about 20-something years ago." So
you're a veteran, is what you're telling me.
I'm a veteran. I'm an award-winning playwright. Sorry, I keep forgetting to tell people that. I mean, award-winning is such a great phrase that everyone is an award winner these days. Oh, every filmmaker is an award-winning filmmaker if they've entered enough shit festivals. You win something somewhere.
Yeah. Same as comedy competitions. The same.
Yeah, award-winning comedian.
Yeah.
Who is taking the comedy scene in Ireland by storm.
By storm.
Every comedian is taking the comedy scene.
One of the busiest acts in the country. Acts in the country. What can we expect to see you in or hear from you next? What can we look out? I know there's the likes of no messages and stuff like that. And
I have that, and I'm writing at the moment. I'm writing for I don't know if I'm allowed to say what it is.
That sounds really cryptic.
If you go back and listen to Callan's Kicks, I've been writing for Callan's Kicks on the old podcasts.
Yes.
They're all up. I've contributed to Callan's Kicks for the last few years, sketches to that. I'm working on animation stuff, but that takes so long, and it's down the line before anything like that comes out.
Yeah.
And I don't know, God, I should know what I have. Well, I tell you what it's going to be released soon online is Rip to the Rescue, which is a short I wrote, and Paddy Baggett directed it. It's a sci-fi comedy set in post-apocalyptic Ireland with Rose Henderson and Claire Monaghan are the leads. And
say no more. Is there a dog in it at all?
There's no dog in it. There's alien creatures.
I'll say no more.
Try to eat people. That is, I must talk to Paddy actually. That's going to be going up online at some point over the next while. It's kind of near
Rip
the
to
end
the Rescue.
Rip to the Rescue, it's called.
I love the idea of that. I love it.
That is one of those ones where it was a stupid, bizarre idea, and I figured nobody would ever be interested in this. And next minute, someplace are going, yeah, we'd love to give you money to make that. Okay, can't tell what people are going to like, but there you go. I'm glad they did. It's great.
It's probably a one in film base, was it? Yes, that's exactly.
I'd love if it was the same woman. I can't remember what her name was. I wish I remembered. But yeah, no, that's going to be up soon enough. Rip to the Rescue is probably the next thing that I've written that people can see that I can talk about right now, because I don't want to say, you don't want to announce something if it hasn't been announced.
Oh yeah, and you don't want to be that bollocks, and next thing all of a sudden you're getting a text and you're going, oh,
I've been that bollocks enough. I don't want to do it again.
I've done it myself, being an absolute langer of just coming out and going, no, Tom, no.
You're not supposed to say that.
You're not supposed to say that, you fucking idiot. Yeah. Well, Cian McGarrigle, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, man.
Thanks a million, Tom. It's great.
Thanks a million, Cian. Good on you. So, I like you were saying, Rip to the Rescue is out fairly soon. Go, if you can find no messages, it's absolutely brilliant. Go have a look at that, or just follow him on Twitter. He's a very, very funny, very, very active user of Twitter and whatnot, so just keep up to date with all them things. So, that was the show, everybody. You know the crack. If you're thinking, fuck it, you know what, Patreon might be, I might want to see them guys' faces as they talk to each other. Do go have a gander at the Patreon. It's the handiest way of getting in, and there are benefits. You get the Ramble Pod purely exclusive to you, live shows and all the rest. Just you're going to get stuff early without the ads. So, and it's sound. It's sound. It supports the show. If if that's not your bag, at least give it a 5 stars if you can on whatever platform you're listening to that allows that, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify. I think Acast allows you as well. If you can, that'd be great. 5 stars, nice little comment. There will be, of course, a top prize for top comment for the 200th episode, and there'll be going to send you out a Buckshot t-shirt in your size, no matter where you're living in the world. The last one went to Leeds, I think. The one before that, I think, went to Canada. So, no matter where you live in the world, you're going to get yourself a t-shirt with a top comment. Failing all that, if you don't even want to get involved, just, hey, whisper in somebody's ear who's thinking about getting into podcasts. Hey, have a fucking gander at Buckshot. Have a gander. Stick that in your top pocket. Go on away and enjoy yourself with that little one. Go on, roll it up, stick it in their arse pocket or their shirt pocket. Say, listen, pass it on. Buckshot is class. That's all I'm saying. The more, the fucking merrier. Now, boys and girls, go on away, and I'll talk to you again next Tuesday. Good night, God bless, and thanks.